Yeah. It's this one, I think. Oh no, this one.
Seriously,
It's that one.
Okay, and this one
Is this a 6-minute speech or a 4-minute speech?
6 minutes. We're doing a regular policy format.
So four 6-minute speeches.
I thought it
and
was
then
2
four-
6-minute and then 2.
We're not doing real format. We're doing policy format.
In public.
Okay.
Okay, then just go with the flow.
Yep.
I am going with the flow. It's a wonderful thing. Okay, are you ready? All right, the negative team has said that they're going to counterplan, and they have decided to reopen Guantanamo Bay, subject the detainees to due process of law, and they have kept all anti-torture legislation intact. Now, it's interesting to note that they're reopening Guantanamo Bay and that they're subjecting these detainees to the due process of law, because in our plan, we are actually subjecting the detainees to due process of law. So at least we both agree that that is necessary to happen. All right. Now, the second thing I'd like to explain is that their anti-torture legislation that they're keeping intact, they're not actually enforcing this legislation any more than the affirmative team is. So when they came up and were talking about justification 1, they said that there's nothing wrong with Guantanamo Bay. What happens is the problem, and that's true. But under the negative team's counterplan, nothing will be done to make the situation any better. Sure, these detainees will be prosecuted, or they'll be tried, so we'll know whether they're guilty or not, but nothing will be done to keep those who are guilty from being tortured. So the fact that they're keeping these anti-torture laws intact really is not an advantage for them. What they need to be doing is enforcing that policy. All right, now I'd like to go down and talk about the justifications that the affirmative team brought up in our first speech. And the first justification we brought up was a political justification, talking about the soft power that the United States will gain by closing Guantanamo Bay and the benefits that we'll reap thereby. The negative team came up after that and said that we really need to have, the negative team came up afterwards and said, as I've already spoken to, that there's nothing wrong with Guantanamo Bay. What happens is the problem. And we agree that what happens is the problem, but we will gain soft diplomacy by closing Guantanamo Bay, because by keeping it open, the world will think that we are still keeping everything around Guantanamo Bay hush-hush. We're still trying to, while we may say that we're trying to make things better there, by keeping it open, the world will still see that as a symbol of the United States' torture and its past. So we really need to close that down so that our past will be forgotten, and so that we can move on, and so that we will be able to prosecute these detainees. All right, now I'd like to talk about the second justification that the affirmative team brought up, and that is human rights. And our first point was that detainees currently do not have a right to a trial. The affirmative team and the negative team agree that these detainees need to be tried, so there's nothing really to refute there. That the Constitution requires that, or the Declaration of Independence has said that all men are created equal, and that all men are endowed by their Creator with certain rights, and one of these rights is the right to a trial. The second point under our justification 2 is that it is unethical to be torturing these individuals, that they don't get a trial, and that 30% of these individuals are guilty. Only 30%. So when the negative team came up and said that there will be overcrowding in prisons, this actually isn't true, because only 30% of the individuals living in Guantanamo Bay will come to the United States and be held in high security prisons. So we really don't see that there will be a significant amount of overcrowding going on. And because our justifications are still vital, the United States still needs the political credibility so that we can influence the world around us, and also that the United States should be an ethical nation and do what is right in the eyes of God, I urge you to please vote for the affirmative team.